Hello again and welcome back to the channel. So if like me you are based in Australia and you collect G.I. Joe classifieds, then you'll know that getting your hands on those figures is becoming more and more of a challenge. So here's a quick look at my top 5 recommendations for getting your figures down under. So starting off at the bottom, the worst place to pick up your classifieds is out in the wild. Unlike the States, Australia doesn't have Walmart. Aww. We do have Target, but by comparison they're just total garbage. So that only really leaves 2 options. That's Toy World and then comic book stores. For those that don't know, Toy World is an Australian-owned chain of toy stores. It's the closest you'll get to a Toys R Us, or if you're from the UK, a Smiths. There are around 122 Toy World stores in Australia, and they do have a dedicated web store. When they do have classifieds in, they're really out of date. I've only seen Destro, Roadblock, and a couple of Scarlets on their pegs. They do, for some reason though, have loads of profit-directed Destro, like loads, and they're always on sale. The only saving grace really with Toy World are the prices. You can expect to pay around 30 Australian dollars per figure. So then there are the comic stores. Now I can only really comment on those based in Adelaide, and there really aren't many. I mean, there's a lot of comic stores, but not many that carry classifieds. There is a cool shop called Mad Zombie right in the centre of the city. For those that don't know, Mad Zombie is a pretty cool toy store, and they have all manner of collectibles, from second-hand vintage Star Wars figures right the way up to brand new Super 7 and Motu figures. But classifieds just aren't really their thing. In fact, I've only ever seen a couple of figures in there. One was Duke, which I ended up buying, and the other was Destro, which at the time of recording this is still on their shelf. Mad Zombie is also a little bit pricey, averaging around $50 per figure. In at 4 is Amazon Australia. Now in the US, UK and all over Europe, Amazon has been the go-to for just about anything and everything. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for Australia, at least not yet. Although Amazon has been active in Australia for about 10 years, it's only been taking orders for physical items for about 5 years. And when it comes to classifieds, they're pretty up to date. Currently, they have Outback, CoverGirl and Falcon all in stock, as well as loads of older figures like Spirit, Iron Knife, Storm Shadow and Sergeant Slaughter. When it comes to price, Amazon is a little cheaper than the comic stores, averaging around $45 for the current figures. The real issue here, however, is the handling. If you like your figures to have minty, fresh packaging, Amazon is perhaps not the way to go. I've had some battered and just completely falling out of the packaging, so it's for that reason they're going to be at number 4. At number 3 is pop culture. Now, if you're a classified collector based in Australia, then there's no way you don't know about pop culture. They're essentially a department store based out of Victoria, but instead of selling household goods, they sell toys and collectibles. They are a little bit behind with their current stock of classifieds, with Wave 9 currently available and Waves 10 and 11 up for pre-order. When it comes to the price, you can expect to pay around 40 to 50 Australian dollars per figure. But what sets pop culture ahead of Amazon, however, is the handling. These guys actually give a shit about your figures, so you can expect nicely packaged parcels at your doorstep. They also have a customer reward program and afterpay, so you can pay off 4 or 5 figures in installments. So pop culture sits at number 3. In at number 2 is Robo Toys. Now I'm sure most Australian collectors will have heard of Robo Toys, but if you haven't, well, they're an online Australian store that specialise in toys and collectibles. But what really sets them apart when it comes to classifieds are the exclusives. Unlike everyone else on the list so far, Robo Toys can get those exclusive figures. Although currently sold out, Walmart exclusives like Range Viper and Big Ben were available on their store. They also have had convention exclusives in the past. In fact, that's how I got my Dr. Mindbender. The store is also ridiculously up to date with their figures. In fact, the announcements from last year's Hasbro livestream went up on their store for pre-order the very next day. In terms of price, you can expect to pay a little bit higher than pop culture, with most figures costing around 50 Australian dollars. The only real negative with Robo Toys is the customer service. Unfortunately, their customer service is pretty poor, but I'm pretty sure that's because it's like 1 or 2 guys running the entire store. So Robo Toys sits at number 2. So taking the number 1 spot, the best place for your classifieds is, surprise surprise, the Big Bad Toy Store. Even though they are based in the US and shipping can really sting, When you weigh everything up, BBTS still is the best place for your classifieds, even if you're based on the other side of the world like I am. They're just as up to date with their current stock as Robo Toys, if not more so. Figures up for pre-order currently on Robo Toys like Crimson Bat and CoverGirl. They're actually in stock on BBTS. They also don't charge anything up front for your pre-orders, and their pile of loot system is just a godsend for international collectors. In terms of price, you can expect to pay around 39 Australian dollars per figure. The negatives, however, are you can't get the exclusives and those shipping costs. But if you keep your shipments between 4 to 6 figures per shipment, you can expect to pay around $50 Australian after taxes. Unfortunately, unlike Robo Toys and Pop Culture, BBTS doesn't offer any payment options for Australian customers, but their customer service, pile of loot system, no down payment policy just makes them a standout. And I really was torn, because if it wasn't for the lack of customer service that Robo Toys have had recently, they would take the #1 spot. But for that reason, BBTS just beats them at that #1 spot for your classifieds. Okay, so there it is. What do you think of my list? Did I miss anywhere that you know of? Please let me know in the comments. I certainly hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please do consider subscribing. And until next time, take care.